Hey everyone, welcome to Love Your Body podcast. On today's episode, I really want to talk about something that I experienced when I was at Fit Farm. So, if you've been listening to the podcast in order, you know I just got back from there, which was in Castellan Springs. It was super cool. I went as a technically an influencer, and with that, it was one of those where I was just coming to promote the venue on social media and things like that, and kind of like the workout Feel My Shape and Smoothie King. And so it was really cool to get to go and do it in that light and not have to teach classes and not really have to worry about everything that was like, that I would have to usually worry about, like with training clients or whatever. So it was really cool. I definitely had a fun time. I really was proud of myself because I ended up bringing like just all my stuff. Like my meal prep. I didn't feel like I was missing out on like the food and stuff. I kind of balanced it between the food that they provided. I balanced the workouts because they do 7 hours of workouts a day, which I know is crazy, but it's super cool, and I really do like enjoy going there. And the funny thing is that like for me, I definitely wanted to I don't know, I definitely wanted to just prove to myself that I could have that balance. Well, when I was there, it ended up being more of a, like, I don't know, it ended up being more of a, like like a reflection, I guess you could say, because everyone around me, they're coming to the space to have this, like, safe spot, right? Where they feel like their best self and to, like, find that person again and away from their kids or partners or whoever. And so what was crazy was that you know, I don't know. I just felt as if like I was meant to be there at that time that I was there. And the women there were talking so like negatively about themselves. And so like today's topic, I just wanted to talk about unlearning the negative. And this is something that my client had put out there as well. And that we talked about this morning. And it was just like, I don't know, it's just so frustrating because we've been taught always by people around us, or just even how people say, "Oh, that your little girl's so pretty. She's so pretty. She's so pretty." Not like, "Oh, wow, like your little girl's strong," or you know what I mean? Like it's all the mannerisms and all the things that we relate all view with. Oh, her dress is great, or this is great, or her fingernails, or all the body and all that stuff. And then you wonder why we get to a point when we're adults where we're like, we hate ourselves because it's just like we don't even feel like we can, I don't know, that we can even relate to that or even be like our best self again, and because it's, I don't know, it's just so crazy. So when I was sitting there, talking to these women, and them saying like FAT, or that they're never going to be this way or whatever, or they're so focused on the weight, it was so funny that it's like they can imagine themselves 20 pounds lighter, but the mental didn't seem like it was going to change at all. And that's where it was frustrating because in Dani D Fitness, we talk about positivity, good movement, and good fuel. And with that, that is, something that is, I don't know, it's just wild to me that we forget the mental side of it when we get so obsessed with like the weight and the number and the scale. And so I basically was trying to just tell them, the mission about I'm trying to break the stereotype of what healthy and fit look like. And that when I was there, what was so special is that women literally came up to me and they're like, I've never seen someone like you. And I listened to that, I was like, "Oh my goodness," like, that kinda took me back a second, I was just like, "Okay," because again, they're from all over, from Canada, from, out of the country, from different states and whatever, and they've been to other resorts with stuff like this before too. So it was super cool because, for me to be able to like, hear that. It was just a reaffirming that, because everyone can say, "Oh, everyone's doing fitness in Nashville," or "Everybody's doing fitness in Middle Tennessee," or whatever. But to reaffirm that, like, they saw what was special about what I'm trying to do, it was really cool. And this is like older men, younger women. I mean, every type of age, body, I mean, money, just financial background, everything. So it wasn't like it was like cookie cutter, this type of person and a bunch of girls just talking, you know what I mean? Like, and bodies that looked like mine at all. And some people were like, "Oh, was it like a fitness thing? Like fitness people went out there?" And I was like, "No, this is definitely something that this is like a last resort for them to become their best self." And so anyway, so it was just super cool. And so when I was there, I was like, man, let's like take it back to like elementary, like right here. Like when we were kids, like, I think every woman can relate, and most men probably can too, but especially on the playground or in middle school or whatever, there's probably been one time, if not more, okay, where you were verbally abused or body shamed in some form or fashion, whether you wore an outfit and someone kind of made you feel some type of way about it, or you were called, like for me, like I was called an ogre. So that was awesome. And again, and I always thought that I was beautiful, and so to hear stuff like that, it was like, "Okay, well, that's, like, weird, and that's mean, and I don't know," you know what I mean? Like, I at that time, I kinda just, like, left it where it was, and I didn't really think anything about it. But when I got a little bit older, I remember being called, like, a whale and stuff like that, and these are by, like, people who are my friends. So imagine what people who, like, aren't my friends were saying, right? And that's such a pivotal time in your life when you're shaping out and, you're growing into yourself and maybe you're playing sports or you're not, or you're trying to find yourself or whatever. And I feel like we carry that into adult life where we can all reflect back at that one time, that I'm talking about. And for me, I don't really think about those times often, but when me and my client were talking about it, I kind of remembered it and was like, okay, yeah, I remember how that made me feel. I remember, I saw like how I saw myself and how it just kind of completely just, it was so off-putting. And it was like, man, like I was really trying to like, dress nice and put forth my best effort and all these things. And so, really when it comes to unlearning the negative, it's not even about, because you're going to have people say things like this to you all the time, no matter if you're your smallest size. Because I've had clients tell me that as well. They've been a very small size for their body shape and for their body frame. And people still were like, okay, well, when you lose 50 more, when you lose 20 more. And that's what's so frustrating is that like it will never be good enough to some people. And that's a hard pill to swallow. You know what I mean? Because I think that another thing we were taught was like, oh, well, when we look like, Susie over here, at a young age, or we look like Barbie, then like we will have the perfect life. And so we have to get away from this mentality. And the only way that I have truly found that besides like writing positive affirmations, I'm all about that, about putting sticky notes, writing with lipstick on your mirror, whatever you got to do to remind yourself. Cause like, let's say you wake up one day and you're super negative about everything. And you remember all these comments that people said to you throughout your life. And then all of a sudden you see that sticky note that's like, you got this. Like, you're a boss chick or whatever, or you're like, if it's even for men, if you're like, man, like I'm a strong dude, or like, I love the way my body is like shaping out, like whatever you got to write to yourself and put up so you can see. Or if it's a picture of you flipping a tire, I got mine in my bedroom. I have my poster, of me doing my jump that was on the Nashville sign, my naked picture. Like I have that, and I have that actual naked picture in the bathroom. Like all these things around me, I keep them. It's not just for like a marketing thing. It's for me to remember and like love myself throughout the day when I'm maybe looking in the mirror and I'm like, oh, man, I'm bloated or this or that, or I'm not having the progress I should for the bodybuilding show or whatever. And then I look to my left and I see this incredible jump, this incredible moment in time where it was exhilarating and it was empowering and it was beautiful. And I'm like, I did that. Right. And I know you're like, well, Dani, I'm not jumping, naked and putting it on billboards. Okay, totally get it. That's only for some of us, right? But there are probably moments where you wore that dress, you wore that outfit, you went out on the town, you rolled with it, like you were vibing, you felt like your best self, right? Whether you got a haircut, like beard trimmed, whatever you do, male or female, it's like you've had those moments, okay? So I just really encourage you to find those moments, but also when you start to get into that negative cycle, what I do, and I have said this forever, like, is I just imagine a stop sign. And that really helps me to stop myself in my tracks. Because if I start to go down a rabbit hole of like how that person looks or how they're acting or how they're whatever, and it's like very stereotypical. And then I'm like, oh, of course, that person, because we start to put preconceived like stereotypes on them, right? Like thinner woman, okay, probably a model, probably does this, like she wears that outfit, life's so easy for her. Like you could go through these whole things, right? Or larger body, okay, well she does clearly doesn't work out, or he doesn't work out, or they're lazy, or this, like all these stereotypes that are just like people have constantly said over and over again, throughout the course of my life. And it's just like those are so generic. So I like to put myself above that. Like I like to be like, okay, you don't have that mindset, that simple mindset. So focus on, the positives of like, okay, that woman who's smaller might want to put on muscle and have a hard time putting on muscle, right? That person that's larger maybe has a serious health issue and they have tried everything and they cannot lose weight. You know what I'm saying? They work out, they eat clean, they do everything right, and they still can't lose weight. So it's again showing that compassion. And again, it's not to say, oh, well, like leave it at that. Like if they came, and they want to work out and get movement and stuff, like, you obviously want people to have a healthy lifestyle fully. Okay. But like giving them the benefit of the doubt is not only showing compassion to them, but also to yourself because you're not letting insecurities that you had from growing up or past traumas like flow onto those people, that didn't deserve it. They were just being. And I wish that truthfully, like I didn't know when I went to the Fit Farm place. I didn't know when I walked in if people would be like, "Wow, like you're really strong and fit," or if they would see me as larger bodied, or if they would see me as whatever, right? Or it's crazy because again, I've gone through so many journeys that like I just don't know how people see me, but like I know how I see me, and that's all that matters. And so that's where like when you start to love yourself and start to have that compassion for yourself and not let other people's views, their sayings, their talks or whatever, about you determine how you feel, you're on a whole nother level. Like I want everyone to feel this way because it's much easier said than done. I know you're probably like, oh man, well, I keep comparing myself to somebody in the gym. Like if you're like, thinking right now, and I'm like, and I'm saying this to you, and you're like, well, how do I not do that? It's very hard. Like it takes practice. I didn't just come out like, feeling this way and whatever, but it really was like I asked myself and said to myself, "Why are you talking negatively to yourself? You always loved crop tops. You always loved, rocking some booty shorts. Like you always like why did you stop?" And then I remember being like, "Okay, because someone had said something. Okay. Well, okay, someone else had said something. Okay. Well, why did you stop eating that food? Oh, because someone said that that wasn't good for me because of my size." Like so again, when you start really thinking about it, it was because of other people that was determining and they were dictating my life. And that was like in college. And it finally got to the point where I just snapped and I just said, like, everyone leave me alone. Don't talk about my food. Don't talk about my weight. Don't talk about whatever. And, that was one of those moments where like I truthfully never had felt so free in my life when that happened. And I don't want you guys to like pop off on people. You know what I mean? Like be nice and be respectful, of course. But I don't want you to get to that point where you are, so bound up that like you have to do that. And that's why this podcast exists. That's why Dani D Fitness exists so that we can figure out how to navigate through life, navigate through people not understanding, show them and set the example of what healthy and fit look like, right? And go through life that way. And it's so much more pleasant. It's so much more fun. It's so much more freeing because you can just do what you want to do and just like rock it out and have fun. And so I don't know. I think that was kind of my whole deal with like what I took from the Fit Farm was just being that example for those women to see that like it's not because I'm this body that I am confident in whatever. I'm confident because I'm confident. And just be able to share that with them. They're like, man, and then that energy that they felt, then that also came into play. And they're like, wow, and then your body. And so it wasn't even like the body was the first thing that they were talking about. And that was really cool. And that's where we kind of have to get away from, those negative views of just those type of affirmations and those type of accolades. And so I will say it's interesting because if you've been following on Instagram, Dani Fitness One, or on TikTok or anything, you've been seeing, my posing videos, you've been seeing, just everything, how my body's shaping out and this meal plan, all the stuff I'm doing, right? Well, I'm putting in the work to do it and everyone sees that and that's awesome. And, I feel very supported. I feel very successful. I'm having fun. It is hard, but it's like worth it. And, it's interesting because now it'll be like you'll get a comment from a trainer, a comment for someone else or whatever that will say to me like something along the lines of, "Oh, well, Danny's like dressing differently now." Or, "Oh, Danny's like, just like showing more skin right here," or whatever, the comments. And there's been like smaller bodies that have always shown more skin, but it's never really gotten like like a praise or a this or that or whatever, right? And it's never been like a, I don't know what, standing out, or I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's never stood out. But now that I'm doing it, it's like people are starting to notice. Here's the thing, guys. Clothes have never really fit my body well, right? I've said this on the podcast many times. I have always had to alter and like change things. Like if the top was long, I had to crop it. If the pants were like too like loose at the top, I had to belt it. Like it's just like, but they only fit my legs because my legs are bigger. Like it's a whole cycle of constantly having to do stuff like that. So when I finally ordered, like for the first time ever, like 2 weeks ago, I ordered blue jean shorts over like the internet, and they fit, and like that was exciting. But this is new for me. And it is because my body's starting to shape out, but there's still things that like don't fit me within the world of, the clothing designer world and whatever. And so it's one of those where I find stuff, I'm like, yeah, let's rock this out. Like, let's do the one size shirts and like see if they fit, or, get some shorts that are maybe tailored more towards like athletic women and strong women, and trying to find that. And so I don't know. It's been cool for me to explore that. So I'm excited to get new clothes and feel good in my body. And also I have to, because a lot of my workout stuff is like falling down, or whatever, it's not fitting. And so that's something that should be celebrated, not commented on, of like, oh well, now you feel like you can wear that stuff. Like, I've been wearing the crop tops and the spandex shorts, like everyone knows that. So nothing's changed. What has changed is your perception of how I look, like, or how you see me, essentially. Because what it was when I was 20, whatever, almost 30 pounds heavier, and you saw me in those outfits, you're like, oh, good. Like, that's good for you. Wear that crop top, girl. Love your body. Like, rock it out. Which also, people hate to hear when you say it like in that tone, you know what I mean? And because it's like, no, like I can just wear it and it'll be fine. But then now it's like oh, okay, I see. Like, are you like, got kind of cocky there, huh? Nothing changed. Like, now I may be a little bit more agitated and on edge because of like the meal prepping and getting up at 4 a.m. every day to get my workouts in and get all my clients in and take care of them and run a business and all that. Yeah, like that's exhausting, but it's worth it and it's awesome and I love it, and like that's my life and I'm doing it. So it's one of those things where literally the only thing that changed is that in your mind I look better now, and so it's one of those kind of like oh, like, let's step back for a second. So it's interesting. And I knew that this is how it would be. And that's what's so sad about it is, and like even the attention from men and things like that. And it it really, it really puts it, what's the word? It really makes you feel like, I don't know, like, you feel so strong, successful on your own, and capable. And if I was me 6 years ago when this happened, which I mean, I did actually 6 years ago, I did get to like lower body weight than I am now and whatever, but I did not look like this. I wasn't strong. I didn't really have the best like guidance on like what to do. And so, I wasn't eating enough. Like, I just tore away a lot of muscle. So I didn't feel my best. And so I will say, like, around that time, I didn't really get a lot of like attention from like, other people and whatever about my body. But, it was one of those things where when it comes to, people noticing and stuff like that, like the men and stuff, whatever, it's almost like, man, like I would have loved it if you could have like seen me when I was still working just as hard at the, heavier side of things, not just now when it's more pleasing to the eye, which again, you can be like, Danny, that's just life. That's just how it is, whatever. I understand. But I find like what I find attractive, like what I would love is if somebody like my affirmations, instead of being like, wow, Danny, like, you look really SKINNY or whatever. Like, no, if someone was like, hey, I've been seeing you put in that work. I see you getting up at 4 a.m. I see you doing 3 hours of workouts or whatever, right? Like that to me is more special. And that is where, it becomes more of a, it aligns more with like my mission and with the, with Dani Fitness and everything like that. So all that to say, you have to figure out when you're doing all of this, when you're starting all of this, like what is your why? Right? Like what is your reason? And are you truly turning the negative into a positive? Like are you taking all the anger and all the resentment you have from all these things that were said to you when you were like 10 and like, all these different ages and whatever, and different sizes. And like, are you using them for good to change the mindset, to like move forward and to keep going? Or are you getting pulled back into it and stuck, And that is something that's very hard when you're on this journey. Cause like I said, it's very easy for me to get like, I could get very resentful and very like angry with people and be like, wow, I can't believe now you want to talk to me because whatever. But again, it could be that I'm more confident seeming, it could be that I, am, dressing in a way that maybe fits my body a little bit better. Now, you never know. You want to give people the benefit of the doubt. But again, you have to stick to like what your goal is and your purpose. And like once you do that, like everything, no matter if you're a size 0 or a size 25, it doesn't matter because people see that you still are working, you're still fighting for what you want, you're still loving your body throughout. Like you're doing all the things that you would have done at whatever size, it doesn't matter. So it's kind of like irrelevant when you hear them comment or them say something to the effect of like, oh, whatever kind of that might have brought your younger self or your more insecure self down. So yeah, so again, it's a hard thing to take in and everything like that. And I will say I was kind of stunned because when I was at the Fit Farm, a lady told me, she said, "You look like a sculpture." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like no one's ever said that to me before." Now, obviously, I am not like, 10% body fat and ready to go like up on a bodybuilding stage. But yet that woman saw me as a sculpture. And that was something beautiful that no one has ever said to me in my life. And it was something that I was like, "Whoa," and it kinda took me by surprise. I really didn't know how to answer her, and I was like, "Well, thank you so much," like, but it was so cool, and it was not just like and then with the other ladies, like, one had said something like, "I've never met someone like you. Like, you are strong, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that," like, all these really cool just things that, really put together me as Danielle, and that was really cool. And so it just like it it just I don't know, it was so special to be there and to set that example and to hear that they had never seen someone like me or like met someone like me. And I want that to hopefully help you on this journey to know that you have a bigger purpose. You have like you can have whatever you want if you're willing to fight for it. If you go back 6 years ago, nobody would have ever said that, "Oh, that girl over there, yeah, she's gonna be the Nashville strongest woman in 2019," or, "Oh yeah, she's gonna flip a 500-pound tire." Like no one ever looked at me as like that strong or anything like that. Especially you go back to college. Shoot, like I was a group fitness girl. Like, they were like, "Oh, she's dancing in there, doing some cycling, doing some shadow boxing." Like strength was never attached to my name or anything like that. And it's like if I would have let so many comments tear me down or keep me in that space from people that I love, from loved ones, from friends, from people I was interested in, if I would have let those things keep me in that space, I would still be in the same mindset of 20-year-old me or 22-year-old me. I would have never grown out of it. I wouldn't try to change the situation. I wouldn't have been able to break the stereotype. Like I wouldn't have been able to move forward because I would have been holding on to just comments and negativity that don't actually matter, you know? And I will say that I know my client had talked about it and she said that really it gets her down when she looks at social media and things like that, and I get it. Like, I get it that you can see someone that you're like, "Wow, I'll never have that body," or "How nice would that be if you" like, all those things are irrelevant. So anytime I really just hope that you like, when you're scrolling or whatever, that you imagine a stop sign and you imagine that and to stop that nonsense because it's so irrelevant, it's not even funny? Now, if you see somebody like me on there and you're like, "Wow, like, I wanna be strong like her one day," because honestly, I really don't when people are like, "Oh, I wanna look just like you," I'm like, "I want you to look like your best." I don't want you to try to look like me, but I want you to look your best because, we're different bodies. But, like, trying to focus on, like, "Oh, I wanna be, like, strong like her." Like, I wanna be able to deadlift 405. I wanna be able to, do a strongman competition or whatever. I wanna run a half marathon. That is why, like, those things are so, to me, attractive too, versus just the aesthetics. So keeping it all just in perspective, guys. But I know it can be challenging. I know it can be hard. So continue to follow along. If you haven't, you can subscribe to my newsletter through my website. You can reach out to me. like I said, on Instagram, TikTok. You can find my phone number pretty easily. Like, whatever you got to do. We're in this Love Your Body season right now. We're getting into, like, we have the expo coming up June 18th. So I'll be doing Move Fit there. Come meet me there. Like, let's hang out. Let's talk. Let me help you to want to love yourself more. Right. Or get your movement in or whatever you need. From there, I'm going to have a couple more Move Fits in July and one in Chattanooga, I believe. And then, going to go watch a bodybuilding show in Chattanooga. I'm super excited about that. So there's like all these like really cool things like up and coming. So if you're not yet following, please do. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, it means the world when you do. For those of you who have bought new t-shirts, Fight Canister, my energy booster, all of that, like, I appreciate you so much. It means the world just by wearing the shirt, just by drinking the Fight. Everything you're doing is supporting this mission that I'm trying to, not even trying, I'm doing, is to help us to continue to not let the nonsense and the negativity overtake us in this world where it seems so heightened. So I hope that you can find that. And I hope you all have the great rest of your day. And until next time.